So, Mark, did you see how Cosmo handles broken windows in the classiest Vegas style ever? Tinfoil.
Yeah, it's like they're making a pot roast in the room or something. I don't know what they're doing with that. How is that safe?
I mean, what's going on over there? I don't know. What the heck are they doing?
I mean, I could see wood. At least that's somewhat a barrier, but that is like insane. And it's been months. So what are you doing? How hard is it to put new glass in? I don't understand.
Times are tough, Mark. Numbers are down. They don't got the money.
Yeah, MGM at its best, right?
So speaking of MGM, Bellagio and their yacht, see, this is what they did. They spent all the money on the yacht, Mark, and that is
Ridiculous
coming
amount.
to... It's funny because the Review Journal was covering how this yacht is coming. October 3rd, it's going to come, and this is for Carbone Riviera, and that is the new restaurant that's going to come later in the fall to Bellagio. But they're going to get this $3 million yacht that we've talked about before, and they're going to drive it down the strip, and then they're going to put it in the water. And then it's so funny because if you read the Review Journal article, it ends by saying pedestrian viewing of the Bellagio fountains from the strip will be impeded for the next several months. So it's funny that they kind of sneak that in there to remind us that, yes, there's going to be a yacht there, but no, you won't be able to see it from the street.
Yeah, and if you're on the yacht, you're paying this money. You're looking at the back of stands instead of the strip. It's just like a bad experience all around, and it still blows my mind that it takes months to put this stuff together. You know, you think they'd have it down pretty quickly now, that they could do it the week of, or a week before, or 2 weeks before, so it wouldn't affect everybody that's in the area for 2 to 3 months. It's just insane.
Yeah, that is something I'm very curious of. I'm sure they've tried, but they clearly have found no way to build that particular section any quicker. And as a reminder, through 2030, they've extended it. So 2030, that specific area will be part
Forever.
of the whole thing. Yeah, basically. They signed their lives away. What's not forever is Eastside Cannery. We've talked before how it was going to become an RV dealership, or there was all these rumors. But Vital Vegas is reporting that word is the sale of the Eastside Cannery might be falling apart. This is just a rumor. There's nothing confirmed with this. And it has to do with cooling plants. Could be demolished. We're not going to get our RV dealership. I'm very heartbroken by this.
It's just crazy that if this deal falls through, they're just going to demolish it and turn it to house, at least rumored to turn it into housing. And it's like, you have this big building. It's not that old. It's in good shape. Nobody can come up with a use for it, or a way to do something with it, a casino, whatever. If you want to put something in the main area, and then even if you turned it into like condos, I don't understand why you wouldn't try to refabricate or reimagine what this thing is. It's not like it's decrepit or anything. It just seems like such a waste.
It is. It's a pretty building. It looks nicer than any of the other casinos on the Boulder Strip. It was built, I think, in '08, but it looks very nice. The tower is pretty. Inside, it wasn't as nice. It kind of gotten run down. Boyd doesn't want to sell it to anybody who's going to use it as a casino because they don't want it to compete with Sam's Town, which is the reason they closed it in the first place. But we've lost a lot of casinos.
Why?
Well, they bought it.
Why have two next
They
to
didn't
each
build it.
But why buy two next to each other if you don't? They just buy it to close it, basically, so that they don't have competition.
I think they thought there was enough business, and then they realized they were cannibalizing their own stuff. And I don't know. I mean, it's a weird thing. It sucks, but probably housing. That's just what we're going to get there. Again, we'll try to see. But moving over to Strat, bad news. Terry Fator. He came onto the Vegas scene. He was so big at the Mirage for so long, and then recently he went to the Strat after leaving the Mirage, and he's already done there. He's over, closed, couldn't sell tickets. According to the company that sort of runs this show and many others in town, like their stuff is down like 15-20%. So they're struggling across many of their shows, which included like Matt Fraser and Rouge, the Australian Bee Gees, Mac King, and Thunder from Down Under, although they said the Thunder is doing good. So business is still brisk for certain types of performances.
Yeah, raunchy women keeping Vegas alive. I like it.
It's the way it should be.
Yeah, it always is raunchy men that uplift Vegas, but hey, come to find out, it's the women that get down in the dirtiness and keep it going. I'm not too surprised by this. It just seems like, as we've seen them bring in more celebrity acts and concerts and short-lived things, like a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there, versus a long-running show, just seems like the love of those is kind of dried up a bit, and we've talked about it, and the mid-tier show has gone away. Terry Fator, funny enough, we've been watching like America's Got Talent with the kids, and they're like, what's the biggest winner? And I said Terry, probably, the first one, probably the most successful of all the winners that I can think of. Like Shim Lim would be up there because he's been doing pretty well, but Terry's been in Vegas making tons of money, selling out shows for a long time. And that was last week, and then this week this comes out, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not so much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe an act from a different time. Maybe it just sort of played out. I think there's seasons for everything, and maybe he'll retool and come back eventually and do okay. But I mean, he wasn't in a huge showroom at Strat, and he couldn't even be successful there. But that's not the only show that's failing at Strat, and so you have to see. And a lot of the smaller shows probably hurting. And we've talked before about how we lost even more smaller shows compared to like before 2020. So it's not quite, what it was. But the economics are probably more difficult these days. But it's kind of eye-opening when you see somebody like Terry Fator have this quick fall from grace.
And you would think his would be one of the more profitable shows because it's him and his mannequins or his dummies or whatever. And yes, there's other people involved in this. There's stagehands and everything. But when you look at like a Cirque show and how many performers there are involved in that, and then you look at this or like a Matt Franco, you would think these are probably some of the easiest ones to make profitable. So if they're struggling, I can't even imagine what a big production show is like unless they're just selling better tickets at a higher price.
Well, you know what he needs to do? He needs to partner up with the Thunder from Down Under, and then he'll be good. Do something with the mannequins. I figure there's some sort of show. There you go. No wonder they don't hire us to give advice. So, as if we didn't say enough bad about Boyd for Eastside Cannery and how they ruined that fine property. Yeah, they were hacked, and they finally admitted it in a disclosure that they had to do. They didn't say when they were hacked, so we don't know that. We know a decent amount of information was taken for employees and some customers. We have the form or the letter that they're sending out to people who were affected. They did say that it's not going to cost them. We don't know if they paid a ransom, but they had insurance. But they say going forward, it's not going to be a material problem for their profit or whatever. But not a lot of information. I'm guessing they paid the ransom. And just remember when we had those hacks with MGM and Caesars a few years ago, Caesars paid a $15 million ransom and their stuff was pretty good. MGM said no ransom, and then they said it cost them $100 million to get everything back online. Challenging world we live in.
I think if they did pay the ransom, they learned from MGM and they're like, you know what, let's just pay this fee, especially if you have insurance for it. You might as well file a claim and get that paid out. Your premiums will go up, but you're covered there, or maybe the insurance company will drop you at this point. But that's kind of where they're at. And, we said, well, what's to stop them from coming back? And at least that group hasn't come back at Caesars. So, and that's part of it. Like they have to keep their word. Otherwise, nobody's going to pay. So honor amongst thieves, right?
At least in hindsight, it seems like Caesars did the right thing. Obviously, MGM didn't know what was going to happen. Hornbuckle's talked a lot about this over the years, how they were just in crisis mode, shutting down systems. And we all saw the repercussions, the lines, the manual keys. It took, I think by all accounts, like 9 to 10 days for them to get fully back up and running. And even then, their website, remember, it was like a month or so before their website, they had rebuilt it from scratch. And, you look at Boyd, they disclosed this well after the fact. They say nothing really big happened. I have to think that they paid a ransom, but we don't know. We don't know what happened. But if you were affected, they should send you a letter.
We're going to see more of this. I mean, this is just, and if they've figured out that they can make money from casinos, they're going to be trying their best. So spend $15 million now and upgrade your systems, make it as, foolproof as possible or as hack-proof as possible. And that's what they should really be learning from this is spend the money on the best IT people you can and build that system out the best you can.
As a reminder, we have our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to our weekly after show behind the channel. Lots of laughs, great conversation, things we can't say here on YouTube. Patreon.com/MTM Vegas.
For all the Down Under a joke coming.
Hit us up there. Thanks for everybody for your support. So there was a lot of kerfuffle going on this week about this Guinness World Record for a number of casinos. Yes, I did. For the number, it's perfect for this example. So casino.org and I think Circa, they partnered with these guys, Garrett Smith and Joel Strasser, who I think did The Amazing Race at certain points. And it seemed like they had a lot of backing for this. And they attempted the Guinness World Record by visiting 115 casinos in 24 hours. The previous record, I think, was 74. And the reason for that was because that's, there's only about 70 something licenses. But apparently, because of this attempt, Guinness changed the rules to allow electronic table games. But even then, there's not enough licenses for that, according to John Mahaffey, who says that they probably use slot machines that had like blackjack or something on them, which he says shouldn't count. Casino.org and Vital Vegas fighting back saying, the Guinness World Record, they had, they follow you around. They have a person there that adjudicates it, and it's not on their site yet. Guinness's site, but apparently they did that and they have the new world record.
Yeah, I don't know if they had somebody that follows them or if they have to get signatures, I believe, at each casino. And the weird thing is, if you have this much backing and you have, Circa behind you and casino.org plus whoever else, you think it would be like on display the entire time. Like, hey, we're at this casino, we're doing this, we're at this casino, and it would be all over social media. And John makes that point that like, hey, there was nothing on social, and I don't remember hearing anything about this. You think, what is the backing for if not to have like publicity or to get something going on it? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But if Guinness says it's kosher, then it must be kosher to their terms. Maybe it's not the way it was in the past, and that makes it feel cheaper. But they're the ones that are signing off on this thing, and yeah, it's just like, it was Dottie's Bourbon Street, Dottie's Casino, Bourbon Street, Dottie's Casino, which is just kind of cheap.
But if you can do that, you should be able to do a lot more than 115. So maybe we should try it. But like Mahaffey got accused of, and they had to ride bikes, because you can't be driven or you can't drive between the casinos. There's all these rules for that, and I think you can find them on the site. Mahaffey got accused of being a little bitter. Remember, him and his wife did an unofficial world record, and then a couple months ago, a couple from the Netherlands broke that record from Mahaffey, and he played nice, and Mahaffey got along, and him and his wife met the people, and he wasn't jealous of that. So why would he be jealous of this? He just wanted to kind of know why the record changed, and maybe now that he knows the new rules, he can go attempt to break it himself. It just seemed like a very interesting thing, but I think it's a good point. Like, if they just changed the rules and you can do 40 more casinos than there were before, and certainly a lot more than have table games licenses, why not just open it up to anything? Just go gas station to gas station.
Boy, could you imagine if you just go on like one street, you could hit like 200 in like 6 hours, just going from any bar or gas station or grocery store that has a slot machine? It would be pure insanity.
They should do it. They should have a slot record at least, and then just let somebody go see how many, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. It would be interesting. I mean, but it seems like everybody wants this record, and there's more people. There's the original record holders. There's the Mahaffeys. There's the couple from the Netherlands. There's the new world record holders from Guinness. I think that this isn't the last we've heard of this.
Well, and it hasn't updated on the site yet, so we don't. Maybe they're saying it's good, but maybe they're double checking it, and it won't be good. We'll have to see how it all plays out.
So over to Allegiant Stadium, I came across this on UNLV's social media on Twitter. They're offering $40 seats to the Wynn Field Club for the upcoming Air Force game. I'm not able to go to this. I wish I was, because I want to go to the Wynn Field Club. I mean, remember, that's the bougie area that's in the end zone. Now, this is for standing room only, and if you want a table, then you're going to have to pay like club-like stuff. But if you just want to stand there, be on the field, like $40 for a UNLV game, that seems like an incredible deal.
Yeah, I wonder, do you think you have to buy a regular ticket and that's like an upcharge, or you think that $40 gets you into everything?
I believe that includes the ticket. That gets you into the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, the area has a bar in it that you could just, if you get there early enough, kind of hole up there, sit there. Even the booths, like when you're looking at it for a college game, I think it breaks down to like $200 a person for some of these, for second tier booths, not like front row booths. And I'm like, that's not too bad. And you get almost half of it back in food and beverage. So I'm like, okay, that makes some sense. But those booths don't look that big when you're fitting like 10 dudes in. It looks like it'd be a little uncomfortable.
My big question, if maybe people that are watching the show know, are they doing this for every game? Has this always been the case where they're $40? I just happened to come across it. I hadn't seen it before. So let us know. Maybe this is for every game, or is this something they're trying for Air Force to try to see how well this, or, maybe the sales aren't good for that game. Who knows? But yeah, let us know. And if you end up going, send us a video. Let us know how it goes down there. So before we get to our final story, I am in Japan, and I'll be back home for the next show, and we'll be back to our normal sort of flow with the news. We'll talk about the numbers that came in and all of that on Friday's show. A lot of stuff to go over, but I want to deep dive on Bally's Las Vegas, because we got some concept art here, Mark, and it is interesting to say the least. Soo Kim had unveiled plans for this, and he's basically admitting they don't have the money to build it. I would say that. He's saying that there depends on who the vendors are that they're going to, find for this, that they might get part of this open before a first pitch, but kind of says that there's not going to be a casino or a hotel there by 2028, which we kind of already knew. But this concept art shows 500,000 square foot entertainment district surrounding the stadium, including 2 towers for what will eventually be Bally's Las Vegas, a casino. I think there's all kinds of pools. There's infinity pools on the strip. There's screens galore. It's multi-stories. It looks kind of like the BLVD mall. I mean, at first I was like, this is like overwhelming. And then I kind of like really dug into the concept art. I like it.
I think it looks really cool. I mean, there's some things that I'm not so sure about or don't like. I think you have some of the same reservations, but initial look at it, I think it looks great. I just don't think there's any way this gets built, at least not by Bally's. I don't even know why Bally's hasn't sold their rights to the area. They're in a money crunch, all this stuff. That's a valuable plot of land. They have the concept. Somebody else could take it and run with it. I would just be like, hey, who wants this? Who wants to pay me? I don't even know if they can, what the legal ways around that are, or, what gaming rights, all that stuff. But if they could, I think that would be the way. Get out of it, because you're not going to. The worst thing that could happen is they build the stadium and then they have like a half-built mall around it and it just looks like crap, and they don't ever get the towers in there and stuff, and it's just going to be chaotic and fall apart. So I'm worried about, the stadium opens and then you have this like vacant mall built around it, and that never really gets finished, or somebody else has to come in and finish it later. I don't even know why the Athletics are allowing this to happen. This just seems like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, well, Soo Kim did say that he thinks Fisher has the money to finish the stadium. So he settled that whole thing right there. Of course, a lot of people still think that the stadium itself isn't financed. I mean, I don't know. But Marnell and Associates designed this, longtime Vegas architects. So the people behind the design are really good. The hotel would have 3,000 rooms if it were built. It's sort of weird with the tower. How do you connect the Bally's part when you have this mall here? Like, are you going to have 2 separate hotels? You can see the casino off to the right so it's very disconnected from like a property perspective. But I love how it's using multiple levels. You can see where the pedestrian bridges connect. I mean, the infinity pools on the strip, that's a nice touch. I mean, I think design-wise, they figured this out, what this could be if they can get this all to fit there. But to your point, I mean, you're billions of dollars short on the financing. Even on Bally's side, they're trying to finish their Chicago casino, which is a huge investment. They're still in the running for one of the New York City casinos. By all accounts, we don't think their finances are all that great. But, I mean, they pay $10.5 million a year for rent on that site. And I have to think that's very valuable. That's a good deal for them if they can get this up and running.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, if you're on that tower that's like on the left side, like you said, the casino's over there. Maybe they're going to put a little bit of casino in both. That's what I was thinking when I first looked at this. Like, it wouldn't make sense. It would suck to be in that tower. You have to walk through this mall, even outside, if you do, and you probably don't want to get to the casino or to get to the main part of the hotel or whatever. They would have to have 2 check-in. That would be just the most annoying thing ever, if you have to go check in and walk across this huge mall to get to your room. So I would think they would have 2 check-ins, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense in that way. You have the stadium in between the 2 towers. It looks cool. I get why they would design it that way, from like the skyline view, the features, all that stuff. Like, it looks perfect, but the stay, unless it was like 2 different branded hotels that are kind of completely different, then it would make sense. But with this both being Bally's as 2 towers to the same hotel, I don't think it does.
Yeah, I agree there. And he's talking about why are they, I mean, it's weird to see a casino company, a gaming company, say, we're going to build a mall and not our hotel casino that we had promised at first. And obviously money probably an issue, but he says that, 75% of revenue now is non-gaming. And so they want to tap in. I think something's going to get built. I think some part of this will be built alongside the stadium. I just don't agree that. Yeah, just the screens. That's all we need.
Oh, that screen right on the corner there, the big circle. That's going to be so distracting. It's so bright and so hot. I just can't imagine like traffic in that area is going to be looking at it. It's already a massive problem area. And then you're adding all this. I don't see where parking is going to go. So what are we doing there? It's just, I don't know. Are they putting it underground? Where are the cars supposed to go?
Well, you can see the garage for the stadium kind of in the background, but they did say they're going to build, I think, underground parking. They said they're going to build parking. I didn't see a reference that it was going to be underground, but that would be my guess. And then they have the garage for the stadium itself. This will transform that area of the strip, but it does look remarkably like BLVD to me, the new mall that's just north of there. I mean, the architecture feels very similar. And I think even in the Review Journal article, they compare it to BLVD in the way that it's doing. So, I mean, this is sort of the future. Is this going to be the future of Vegas? We've talked about how everything's vertical. This stretches everything up. Like, this is going to be right on top of you. in that area. It's going to feel so different than it did before with Tropicana, but it's towering.
Yeah. It's going to be claustrophobic and bright and hot.
And totally, it's all getting built according to everybody that knows. What are the odds? We need some betting odds. I'm sure on one of the Poly Market or something, I'm sure somebody set some odds on whether this gets built or not. But let us know in the comments, what do you think? What do you think of the concept art? Are they going to build any of it? Is the stadium going to get built? I think it is. Chris Holmes recently shared some aerial photos of the stadium. I'll throw those up right now. You can see they are building in ground construction for the stadium, so it is happening. I do believe it will open in 2028. That's my personal belief, but let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about today. The Eastside Cannery, the world record, is that what's going on with that? Why does everybody want to break the world record for most casinos visited? Everything else we talked about today, leave a comment, and we'll see you guys on Friday with another show.
I forgot to look. Do they have a Ross Dress for Less and a CVS in that mall? I hope so.
Coming soon, a Walgreens. We'll get it all. Thanks so much for watching.
Have a good week, everybody.